Commander Vextar Quarren of the Galactic Hegemony stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominance, his 4 eyes fixed on the massive viewscreen. His scaled fingers tapped rhythmically against the polished obsidian of his command console as the broadcast preparations finalized. "Is the transmission ready?" he asked, not bothering to look at Lieutenant Zafara, who was frantically adjusting settings on her console. "Yes, Commander. We are broadcasting to all 7,392 conquered worlds and 1,856 allied systems. Estimated viewership will exceed 900 trillion sentients." "Excellent," Quarren purred, his lipless mouth stretching into what passed for a smile among the Vexari species. "The Emperor will be pleased. Nothing like a public execution to remind the lesser species of their place in our glorious hegemony." Lieutenant Zafara didn't share her commander's enthusiasm. Her species, the Luminari, were recent additions to the hegemony's growing collection of conquered civilizations. Her luminescent skin flickered with pale blue anxiety patterns that she struggled to suppress. "Sir, may I speak freely?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the humming of the ship's systems. "You may, Lieutenant, though I suggest you choose your words carefully. Is this necessary? The human female is barely past adolescence by their standards, 19 planetary cycles. Executing her seems excessive." Commander Quarren turned slowly, all 4 of his eyes narrowing to vertical slits. "Excessive? This young female infiltrated our most secure military installation on Proxima Centauri, stole classified intelligence, and transmitted it to human resistance cells across 17 systems. Her actions have cost us millions in resources and hundreds of hegemony lives." "She's just one human," Zafara whispered. "Precisely. Just one human." Quarren's voice rose to a hiss. "Yet look at the damage she caused. The humans are dangerous precisely because we keep underestimating them. This execution isn't just punishment, it's a message. The humans have resisted integration longer than any species we have encountered. It's time they learned the cost of defiance." Quarren turned back to the viewscreen as the Imperial insignia, a spiraling galaxy clutched in a 6-fingered hand, appeared. "Begin the broadcast." The insignia faded, revealing a stark white room. In the center stood a simple metal platform. Bound to it by energy restraints that hummed with blue-white intensity was a human female, Maria Cassidy. Even restrained and facing execution, there was something unnerving about her calm demeanor. Her dark hair was cut short in the practical style favored by resistance fighters. Her eyes, an unusual shade of amber, surveyed the room with an unsettling alertness. "Greetings, citizens of the galactic hegemony," Quarren's voice boomed across the broadcast. "Today we witness imperial justice administered to a dangerous terrorist. The human female before you has committed acts of sabotage, espionage, and violence against the peace and prosperity our glorious Emperor provides." The camera drones circled Arya, capturing her from all angles. She looked directly into one as it passed, and the ghost of a smile crossed her lips. "Seriously? Peace and prosperity?" Her voice was surprisingly strong. "Is that what you call strip mining inhabited planets? Or forcing species to integrate until their cultures disappear? Or maybe you mean the prosperity of the slave labor camps on Deimos?" "Silence her." Quarren snapped, and a guard stepped forward, activating a neural disruptor that sent Arya's body rigid with pain. "As you can see." Quarren continued smoothly. "Humans remain stubbornly resistant to the benefits of civilization. For 60 years since their discovery, they have rejected the Emperor's generous offers of integration. Their continued resistance costs countless lives and resources that could be better spent advancing our collective greatness." On the platform, Arya had recovered enough to speak again. "You know why we resist?" she asked, addressing the camera directly. "Because we have seen how your integration works. The Luminari were a peaceful species with a civilization that lasted 20,000 years. Now they are servants and technicians. The Crith were master artisans, now they are mindless labor drones in your factories." Another shock from the neural disruptor silenced her temporarily. "The execution will commence in 5 minutes," Quarren announced. The method chosen reflects the severity of her crimes against peace. On the bridge, Lieutenant Zafara's skin had darkened to a deep indigo of distress. "Commander, we are receiving an unusual number of communication requests from various systems, including 3 from the Imperial Palace itself." Corrin waved dismissively. "They can wait." The Emperor himself ordered this execution to proceed without interruption. "Sir, one of the communications is coded with the Emperor's personal cipher." This gave Corrin pause, but only briefly. "Probably congratulations for a well-executed demonstration. We will respond after the broadcast." Back in the execution chamber, Arya was speaking again, but now her tone had changed. She no longer addressed her captors or even seemed concerned with the imminent execution. Instead, she appeared to be counting? Nay. 47, 46, 45. "What is she doing?" Corrin demanded. "Unknown, sir," replied the security chief. "Brain scans show elevated activity, but no signs of panic or fear. She appears to be waiting for something." 42, 41, Arya continued. "Enough of this. Proceed with the execution immediately," Corrin ordered. In the White Room, guards activated the execution apparatus. A circular device descended from the ceiling, bristling with neural probes designed to systematically shut down the victim's nervous system. It was considered the most humane method in the hegemony's arsenal, a small mercy granted only because the broadcast would reach worlds where more barbaric methods might inspire the sympathy rather than fear. 39, 38, Arya continued, looking eerily unconcerned as the device positioned itself above her head. "Final witness statements may be submitted," announced the execution officer, a formality that was rarely exercised. To everyone's surprise, Lieutenant Zafara stepped forward on the bridge. "Sir, I wish to register a formal witness statement according to Hegemony Protocol 15B. Corrin's scales flushed with anger. "Lieutenant, this is not the time." "It is my right under Imperial law," Commander Zafara stated firmly, her skin now pulsing with determination. "And it requires a temporary stay of execution while the statement is processed." "Fine," Corrin hissed. "Make your statement quickly." Zafara turned to face the communication array that would transmit her words to the execution chamber. "As a representative of the Luminari people, I wish to state for the record that this execution violates the Sentient Rights Accord of the 7023rd Imperial Year, specifically regarding the treatment of prisoners from non-integrated species and—" "Enough." Corrin slammed his fist on the console. "Your statement is noted and rejected. The human has no rights under Imperial law because humans have rejected Imperial law. We continue the execution immediately." In the White Room, Arya's counting had reached 25 when the neural probes began to extend toward her skull. "Sir," the navigation officer interrupted, "we are detecting unusual activity in the system's hyperspace aperture. Multiple signatures emerging, hundreds of them, no, thousands." 23, 22, Arya continued, now with a definite smile on her face. "Impossible." Corrin rushed to the tactical display. "There's no human fleet large enough to." The ship shuddered violently, sending crew members sprawling across the bridge. Alarms blared as emergency systems activated. "We are under attack." The tactical officer shouted unnecessarily. "Multiple vectors. They have somehow bypassed our outer defenses completely." On the view screen, the execution chamber's feed showed guards rushing to respond to the attack, the execution temporarily forgotten. 15, 14, Arya's count continued, steady and assured. Corrin grabbed the communication array. "This is Commander Corrin. Complete the execution immediately." "That's a direct order." The guards returned to Arya, preparing to activate the device manually, but the ship rocked with another, more powerful impact. The lights flickered, and the energy restraints holding Arya briefly wavered. That brief moment was all she needed. With speed that seemed impossible for a human, Arya slipped one hand free, then the other. Before the guards could react, she had grabbed one of their neural disruptors and activated against its owner. She moved with practiced precision, disabling the second guard with a targeted strike to a vulnerable joint. At 10-9, she continued counting as she liberated a sidearm from one of the unconscious guards. Stop the human. Quarren screamed into the comm. Kill her if you must, but do not let her escape. More guards rushed into the execution chamber, weapons drawn. Arya dove behind the execution platform as energy blasts scorched the wall behind her. Sir, the tactical officer reported, the attacking fleet, they are not just humans. We are identifying ships from at least 30 different species. Including, sir, there are hegemony military vessels among them. Impossible. Check your sensors. Quarren demanded. 3, 2, Arya's voice came clearly through the broadcast, which was still transmitting to trillions across the galaxy. What happens at 0? Lieutenant Zafara asked, almost to herself. Arya stood up from behind the platform, still holding the guard's weapon but making no move to use it. She looked directly into the camera, her amber eyes blazing with something that looked disturbingly like pity. 1, 0. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, across every communication channel, on every view screen throughout the hegemony, the Imperial insignia was replaced by a simple message in the common galactic script. We are free. Simultaneously, the ship's systems began shutting down. Not just the eternal dominance, but reports flooded in of the same happening to every hegemony vessel, every Imperial installation, and every governmental system across thousands of worlds. What's happening? Quarren screamed as the bridge plunged into darkness, only emergency lighting providing dim illumination. Lieutenant Zafara's skin had begun to glow with a brilliance not seen in her species since before their conquest, the bioluminescent expression of hope. The human resistance, she whispered. They weren't just fighting you. They were infiltrating you, learning you. And now they have turned off your precious empire, came Arya's voice through the still-functioning broadcast system. She was walking calmly toward the camera. That classified intelligence I stole? It was the final piece of a virus we have spent decades planting in your systems. A virus designed to recognize and disable hegemony technology while leaving allied species unaffected. Impossible, Quarren breathed. But the evidence was all around him as system after system failed. The execution countdown wasn't for me, Arya continued, now speaking to the trillions still watching. It was for you, Commander Quarren, for the hegemony. From this moment, your ships won't fly, your weapons won't fire. Your neural control implants for integrated species are disabled permanently. Arya's face filled the view screen, addressing not just the ship but the galaxy. To all those who have suffered under hegemony rule, you are free now. The Allied fleet arriving in this system brings representatives from 30 former hegemony worlds, plus the human resistance. They come not for vengeance, but for liberation. She paused, her expression softening slightly. And to the hegemony species themselves, you too can be free. Free from the lies your leaders told you. Free from the endless wars of conquest. We don't want to destroy you. We want to invite you to join something better. A true galactic community, not an empire. On the darkened bridge, Lieutenant Zafara approached Commander Quarren, who stood frozen before the tactical display. You never understood humans, did you? She asked softly. You thought executing one would break their resistance. Instead, you broadcast their victory to the entire galaxy. Commander Quarren's scales had faded to an ashen gray. This isn't possible. One species cannot defeat the hegemony. We have conquered thousands of worlds. We have ruled for 50 millennia. And it took humans 60 years to bring you down, Zafara replied, watching as the message "We are free" continued to pulse across every screen. Perhaps that's why they frightened you so much. The Emperor will restore order, Quarren insisted desperately. This is a temporary setback. Another message appeared on the view screen, this one directed specifically to the Eternal Dominance. Commander Quarren, this is Admiral Helena Takashi of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ship is surrounded. Your weapons are disabled. The Emperor's palace has already been secured by Allied forces. I suggest you surrender peacefully. As if to emphasize the point, the view screen switched to an external view showing the eternal dominance surrounded by a vast armada of ships from dozens of different worlds and species. You have lost, Commander Zafara said, her voice gaining strength as her skin pulsed with the bright colors of her people's freedom. And the most remarkable thing, you broadcast your defeat to everyone? 47 minutes, Corin muttered, finally understanding. From the moment we began the execution broadcast to this, they planned it all. On the screen, Arya Cassidy's face reappeared, no longer a prisoner but a victor. Yet there was no malice in her expression, only determination. The countdown has reached 0, she announced to the watching galaxy. And now something new begins. You really should close your mouth, Commander. The way your jaw's hanging open makes you look like a Tartuvian gulperfish, Arya remarked casually as she strode onto the bridge of the Eternal Dominance, flanked by a mixed group of humans and aliens. Commander Corin, still processing the catastrophic reversal of fortune, found himself unable to formulate a response. His mighty warship, pride of the hegemony fleet, was now dead in space, its weapons and propulsion systems reduced to useless metal and circuitry. Admiral Takashi sends her regards, Arya continued, gesturing to the armed personnel securing the bridge. She would have come herself, but she's rather busy coordinating liberation efforts across 17 sectors simultaneously. Multitasking, another human specialty your intelligence reports failed to appreciate. Lieutenant Zafara stood a few paces away, her luminescent skin now pulsing with bright patterns of blue and gold colors of her species that had been forbidden under hegemony rule for representing independent thought. Arya Cassidy, she said, stepping forward. Your reputation precedes you. I am Zafara of the 4th Luminary Collective. Arya's stern expression softened as she turned to the lieutenant. Your witness statement bought me precious seconds. I won't forget that. I was merely following my conscience, Zafara replied. And that, Arya said, loud enough for everyone to hear, is exactly what the hegemony could never understand about other species. That conscience and free will are not weaknesses to be purged, but strengths to be nurtured. The human male in the tactical gear of Earth's defense forces approached Arya. The ship is secure. Minimal resistance. Most of the crew surrendered as soon as they realized their neural control implants were offline. Thank you, Major Kanto. Arya nodded. Any casualties? 3 minor injuries on our side, none on theirs. Corin finally found his voice. You expect me to believe your attack on the hegemony is benevolent? He spat the word like it was poison. Your human history is written in violence. Your liberation will just become a new empire with humans at the apex. Arya considered him for a moment before responding. Tell me, Commander, in your 50,000 years of hegemony rule, how many species voluntarily joined your empire? Not coerced, not conquered, truly joined of their own free will? Corin's scales flushed with anger. Voluntary cooperation is inefficient. The Emperor, Arya interrupted, is currently being escorted to comfortable but secure quarters on Proxima Centauri. Unlike your hegemony, we don't execute our opponents on live broadcasts. She gestured toward the view screen, which now showed footage from across the galaxy, hegemony occupation forces standing down as their weapons failed to function, former slave species tearing down imperial monuments, Allied fleet vessels delivering humanitarian aid to the hardest-hit worlds. This isn't an invasion, Commander. It's a correction. Arya turned to address the bridge crew. For those of you from conquered worlds, you are free to return home or join our coalition efforts. For hegemony species personnel, you will be treated with dignity, evaluated individually, not punished collectively. A message alert chimed on the communication terminal that still functioned. Major Kento checked it and nodded to Arya. It's time. Put it on screen, she directed. The view screen shifted to show a vast chamber filled with representatives from dozens of species. At the center stood a tall, silver-haired human woman in the formal attire of an Earth Defense Fleet admiral. "This is Admiral Helena Takashi," Arya explained. "What you are witnessing is the first gathering of the Galactic Cooperative Assembly." Admiral Takashi's commanding voice filled the bridge. "Representatives of all worlds. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning." The hegemony's fall was not accomplished by humans alone, but by a coalition of species, including brave dissenters from within the hegemony itself. The camera panned across the assembly, showing the diversity of the gathered representatives' former enemies now sitting side by side. The virus that disabled hegemony technology was not designed to be permanent, Takashi continued. Within one standard galactic cycle, all affected systems will begin functioning again. By then, we hope to have established the framework for a truly cooperative interstellar community. On the bridge, Quarren laughed bitterly. "And you believe this fantasy will last? That former enemies will simply forget millennia of conflict?" "Oh, we expect it to be messy," Arya replied with surprising candor. "Humans have a saying, democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others. We are under no illusions about the challenges ahead." Major Kento approached with a datapad. "The preliminary census from the Vixari homeworld is coming in. Nearly 40% of your population was unaware of the true nature of hegemony expansion. They were fed propaganda about defensive wars and preemptive security actions. More lies, Quarren dismissed. Actually, Zafara interjected, it matches what we discovered in the Imperial archives. The hegemony's ruling class kept most of their own citizens as ignorant as their subjects. Power concentrated among fewer than 2% of your population." Arya took the datapad from Major Kento, reviewing the information, which explains why many Vixari are actually celebrating right now. "Your empire wasn't just oppressing other species, it was oppressing your own." The bridge fell silent as this revelation sank in. Several Vixari crew members exchanged glances, their scaled skin showing patterns of confusion and dawning comprehension. Outside the viewports, the Allied fleet maintained its position around the disabled flagship. Shuttles moved between vessels, coordinating the massive logistical operation that was unfolding simultaneously across thousands of worlds. "What happens to us now?" asked a young Vixari navigation officer, breaking the silence. Arya handed the datapad back to Major Kento before responding. "That depends on you. War crimes will be prosecuted individually, not collectively. Those who were simply following orders have nothing to fear beyond a significant career change." She turned to Commander Quarren. "Your case is complicated. Ordering my execution was certainly within hegemony law, but broadcasting it violated several interstellar treaties that even the Emperor had signed." "Spare me your human justice," Quarren snarled. "If you are going to execute me, just do it." "That's the difference between us, Commander," Arya replied calmly. "You see, I meant what I said during the broadcast. We don't want vengeance. Justice, yes, but not revenge. You will stand trial before a multi-species tribunal with full rights to defense counsel and evidence presentation." Quarren's 4 eyes blinked in disbelief. "Why?" It was Lieutenant Zafara who answered. "Because that's the point of all this, being to build something better than what came before." Major Kento approached again. "Arya, we are receiving reports from the outer systems. The hegemony's automated defense platforms are attempting to reboot using backup protocols." "Right on schedule," Arya nodded. "Initiate Phase 2. Throughout the ship, previously dormant systems suddenly activated not with their original hegemony configurations, but with new operating parameters. Emergency lighting brightened to full illumination. Environmental controls resumed normal function." "What's happening?" Quarren demanded. "The second stage of our virus," Arya explained. "Rather than merely disabling hegemony technology, it's repurposing it. Your weapon systems are being converted to defensive shields. Your surveillance networks are being reconfigured for disaster prediction and relief coordination." She gestured to the view screen, which now showed various hegemony installations across the galaxy undergoing similar transformations. 50,000 years of technological development won't be wasted, just redirected toward constructive purposes. The Vexari communications officer, who had been monitoring the remaining functional systems, looked up in amazement. The quantum network, it's performing at 300% of its previous capacity. How is this possible? Because Major Kento explained, your engineers deliberately limited its capabilities to maintain control. Information flow was restricted to maintain the hierarchy. We simply removed those limitations. Arya moved to the command platform where Quarren had stood so confidently less than an hour before. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone present. "Here's what you never understood about humans, Commander," she said. "We are not exceptional because we are stronger or smarter or more technologically advanced. We are not even exceptional because we are more aggressive or cunning. Then what makes your species so special?" Quarren asked, genuine curiosity momentarily overcoming his anger. "Adaptability," Arya replied simply. "In the 60 years since we encountered the hegemony, we have faced extinction-level threats 18 times. Each time we didn't just survive, we evolved. It's not biologically, but culturally, technologically, philosophically." She turned to address the entire bridge crew. The hegemony saw other species as threats to be conquered or resources to be exploited. Humans saw potential allies. "When we realized we couldn't defeat you alone, we didn't surrender, we built coalitions. When your technology outmatched ours, we didn't copy it, we reimagined it." On the view screen, Admiral Takashi was concluding her address to the newly formed Galactic Cooperative Assembly. "The work before us is enormous, but so is the opportunity. For the first time in 50 millennia, the galaxy faces a future based on cooperation rather than conquest." The assembly erupted in thunderous approval, a cacophony of different species expressing hope in their unique ways. Arya watched the screen with a slight smile. "Pretty good for a species that was facing extinction 60 years ago, wouldn't you say?" "You planned this all along," Quarren realized, his voice barely audible. "By ordering your execution. The broadcast. The countdown. It was all theater." "Not entirely," Arya admitted. "The virus was real. The resistance was real. The suffering under hegemony rule was very real. But yes, we needed a moment, a singular, galaxy-wide moment, when everyone was watching. When all species, whether conquered or conqueror, could witness the same event simultaneously. And I gave that to you," Quarren said bitterly. "You gave that to everyone," Arya corrected, "including your own people. They needed to see what was being done in their name." Lieutenant Zafara had been monitoring communications from her homeworld. Now she looked up, her luminescence pulsing with excitement. "The Luminari High Council has been restored. After 2 centuries of imperial governors, we are governing ourselves again." Similar reports were coming in from across the galaxy as former hegemony subjects reclaimed their sovereignty, not in isolation but as part of the emerging cooperative. "Major Kento," Arya called. "Status report on the Emperor?" "Secure and surprisingly cooperative," came the reply. "Apparently he's been a ceremonial figurehead for the last century. The real power was with the Imperial Strategic Command, most of whom have already surrendered." Arya nodded, then turned back to Quarren. "Your trial begins in 3 standard weeks. Until then, you will be confined to quarters, not a cell. You will have full access to legal counsel and evidence preparation resources." "Why such leniency?" Quarren asked suspiciously. "Because we need you to understand what's happening," Arya replied. "We need you to see that there is an alternative to the hegemony's way. And maybe, just maybe, we need your insights to make this transition smoother for your people." The commander stared at her for a long moment before asking the question that had clearly been bothering him since the beginning. "How did you do it?" "The virus, the fleet coordination, turning our own technology against us." Arya glanced at Major Kento, who nodded his approval. "We had help," she said simply. "From within the hegemony. From species you thought were completely subjugated. From individuals within your own government who recognize the moral bankruptcy of endless conquest." She gestured to the stars visible through the viewport. The hegemony made a critical mistake. You assumed that, because you could force compliance, you had achieved conquest. But you can't conquer minds, Commander. Not permanently. As Quarren was escorted from the bridge, Arya turned to Lieutenant Zafara. Your witnessing statement was logged in the official record. Technically, you committed treason against the hegemony. Zafara's luminescence dimmed slightly with concern. Which is why Arya continued with a smile. The Luminary High Council is requesting your presence as their representative to the Galactic Cooperative Assembly. The lieutenant's skin erupted in brilliant patterns of joy and disbelief. Me. But I'm just a junior communications officer. Who had the courage to speak up when it mattered most, Arya pointed out. That's exactly the kind of representative we need. Major Kento approached with a final update. The transition protocols are running smoothly on 87% of affected worlds. We are encountering some resistance in the Rigel sector, but nothing the peacekeeping teams can't handle. And the broadcast? Arya asked. Still going, he confirmed with a grin. Viewership has actually increased. Apparently, watching an empire fall in real time makes for compelling entertainment. Arya looked around the bridge of the once mighty flagship, now just another vessel in the nascent cooperative fleet. In less than an hour, 50 millennia of imperial rule had ended. Not with a grand battle or a superweapon, but with information, cooperation, and perfectly timed defiance. Prepare for departure, she instructed. The Eternal Dominance will be recommissioned and renamed according to galactic cooperative protocols. Any suggestions for the new name? Major Kento asked. Arya thought for a moment, then smiled. How about 47 minutes? Zafara's skin pulsed with amusement. A bit on the nose, don't you think? Sometimes the obvious choice is the right one, Arya replied. It will serve as a reminder that no empire is truly eternal. That change can come when you least expect it. And that sometimes, all it takes is a single broadcast to ignite a revolution. As the newly christened 47 Minutes prepared to join the cooperative fleet, communications channels across the galaxy continued to carry the simple message that had marked the hegemony's fall. We are free. But now those words were followed by another phrase, transmitted in every language of every species in the newly liberated galaxy. And we are together. The message reached the furthest stars, echoing across worlds where beings who had never known freedom began to imagine its possibilities. It reached the hegemony homeworlds, where citizens were learning the truth about their empire for the first time. And it reached Earth, where humanity celebrated not a conquest, but a collaboration. The galactic hegemony had executed a human girl on live broadcast, not realizing they were actually broadcasting their own downfall. In 47 minutes, an empire had fallen, and something far greater had begun to rise in its place.